Chapter 1 Leader of the People. While Amina experienced a relatively smooth pregnancy, she was now in labor. She never imagined that her delivery would occur without her husband by her side. He was overcome by fever while returning from a trade mission in the north, and died a few hundred miles away from his pregnant wife. Around this time, Amina heard a voice that said, "You are carrying in your womb the leader of this people, and when he is born, say, 'Place him in protection from the evil of every envier.'" As her delivery drew closer in the city, and she felt the final pangs of labor, Amina saw a light so bright that she could see the Christian castles of Syria. Shortly thereafter, her baby arrived and saw his first rays of light in this world. The boy's grandfather came and was elated to see his grandson. For a time, his joy overcame the sorrow he felt from the recent death of his dear son, the newborn's father. The grandfather took the baby to the sanctuary and prayed for him there. It was typical in that time to send children from noble families to rural tribes to be raised in a healthier, more natural environment away from the city. A woman named Halima was from such a tribe and came into the city during a time of drought, in search of a child who she could care for on behalf of a wealthy family. Although she was a wet nurse, Halima was not able to produce milk at that time, despite having a young child of her own. As she searched for a baby or toddler whom she could care for, Halima realized that most of the children had already been taken by women from other rural tribes. Halima eventually met Amina with her toddler, who was destined to be the messenger. Despite the fact that Amina did not have sufficient money to give her due to the hard times, Halima agreed to take on the child. Reflecting on this, Halima's husband said, "It is a good idea. He may bring us some blessings." Halima began to suckle the messenger, and her breasts miraculously filled up with milk, despite the drought. Before her very eyes, the messenger and Halima's own child were both able to satisfy their hunger. Halima had entered the city riding on a worn-out, slow donkey. When returning home with the messenger, Halima's donkey somehow outpaced all the other donkeys who were being ridden by others. The other women of the tribe asked her where the donkey came from. Halima turned to her astonished friends and told them that it was the same one she came with. Even more awe-inspiring was that a cloud shadowed the path of Halima and her family during the journey while the rest of the tribe crossed the desert in the hot sun. Back at home, Halima would send her sheep out to graze on the harsh terrain, and they would somehow come back full, while the sheep of others in the tribe would return hungry. Indeed, very special things were taking place with the entry of the messenger into Halima's life. When the messenger reached the age of 4 and had been in Halima's care for 2 years, something extraordinary occurred. One day, Halima's own child came running and said, "Something has happened to him." 2 men came and took out a knife. Halima was in a total state of shock and ran to the messenger. She asked him, "What happened?" The messenger said, "2 men came in white. They split my chest open, took out my heart, and put it in a bowl of ice. They poured on my heart the water from the well of Zamzam." Even at such a young age, the messenger was never one to lie or exaggerate. 2 angels had come in the middle of the desert, had temporarily removed his heart, and cleaned it with purified, iced water. The angels had put the heart back into the messenger and sealed his chest. While Halima believed the story, she felt that it was time to take the messenger back to his mother. She journeyed back to the city with him and retold the story to Amina. Amina responded, "Do not fear Satan for this boy, for he is protected against him. This boy of mine will have a renowned future. I tell you that my pregnancy was the easiest ever experienced by any woman. When I gave birth, he lifted his head to heaven. Leave him with me and go back to your people." When the messenger was 6 years old, Amina took him to Medina to visit relatives and to see his father's grave. After a month away from the city, they headed back home. On the return trip, Amina fell sick like her husband before her. She too passed away traveling, leaving the child an orphan at such a tender age. He waited alone near the graves of his mother and father for a new guardian to take his hand and bring him back to the city. It was his grandfather who rushed in to care for the boy, but he too was destined to die within the next 2 years. The boy's uncle, Abu Talib, honored his dead father and took up the legacy of his younger brother, quickly becoming the next parental figure for the boy. It was Abu Talib who remained at the boy's side when everyone else seemed to be gone.